Om Paratatve Sada Lino Ramakrishna Samagyaya Yo Dharma Sthapana Rato Vire Shantam Namamyaham. We are studying Swami Vivekananda's Jnana Yoga, and after the London lectures, we have come to the American lectures. And the third lecture, the name is Immortality, delivered in New York, 17 January 1896. 17 January 1896, delivered in New York, and the lecture is on immortality, and the American lectures are stylistically different from the English lectures. The London lectures were more appearance of rationality, and the American lectures, they appear more poetic. They are not irrational, but the appearance is more poetic. So the feeling side comes in. And this does not appear to be a particular Upanishadic lecture. So let us see now. What question has been asked a greater number of times? What idea has led men more to search the universe for an answer? What question is nearer and dear to the human heart? What question is more inseparably connected with our existence? Nearer to our heart, dearer to our heart, and inseparably connected with our very existence. Then this one, the immortality of the human soul. So, we live and we wish to live eternally. That is the human psychology. We do not want to die or be annihilated forever. We want to live. If not with this body, maybe with other body. But we don't want to die. So that is nearest to our heart, as well as dearest, as well as it is connected with our very existence. It has been the theme of poets and sages. So poets also have dreamed about it. Sages have known it. Of priests and prophets, kings on the throne have discussed it. Beggars in the street have dreamt of it. Yes, he may be a beggar, but he does not want to die. And the kings do not want to die. And kings have discussed it. So this question has been discussed in Janaka's kingdom, Janaka's palace, Janaka's court. Also, some other kings in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, like Ajatashatru, and in Chandogya you have seen Prava and Jaivali. So many kings are there who have discussed this. The best of humanity have approached it, and the worst of men have hoped over it. Best of humanity are trying to be immortal. The worst of humanity do not know, but they hope for it. The interest in the theme has not died yet, nor will it die, so long as human nature exists. So the very human nature wants this question to be solved forever. Various answers have been presented to the world by various minds. Various answers. Swamiji deals with one or two answers here, which are not very correct, but man has thought about it. And then Swamiji will provide the correct answer through what these sages have told us. Thousands again in every period of history have given up the discussion. Most of the people, they do not want to think about it, though they hope for it. And yet the question remains fresh as ever. But that question is always there. We may not discuss it, we do not understand how to discuss it, but we can give up that discussion and only hope But the question is very important. Often in the turmoil and struggle of our lives, we seem to forget it. But suddenly someone dies, one perhaps whom we loved, one near and dear to our hearts is snatched away from us. And the struggle, the din and turmoil of the world around us ceases for a moment. At least for that moment, we forget the whole world and we think of the dear one who has gone away. And the soul asks the old question. Soul means the innermost being of man, the heart. It does not mean the Atman actually. What after this? What becomes of this soul? So what after this? There is existence or not? And what has happened to that man who has died? Where has he gone? So, is he living somewhere? This question does not go. All human, now Swamiji tries to solve it for us. How to know things. Important point, all human knowledge proceeds out of experience. We cannot know anything except by experience. How knowledge proceeds? Not by hearing. Hearing gives indirect knowledge. But we want to experience that truth. And hearing also is based upon somebody's experience. So ultimately it is the experience only which generates knowledge. May not be ours, maybe somebody else's. Some people think by reasoning we get additional knowledge. All our reasoning is based upon generalized experience. What is reasoning? We get experience and then we generalize that experience into groups. We see apple falling, another apple falling, another stone falling, and then we generalize saying that it is law of gravitation, and we are satisfied with that knowledge. So, experience, generalization of experience, there the reason helps us, and that is called knowledge. So, fundamental issue of knowledge Swamiji is discussing here is based upon generalized experience. All our knowledge is but harmonized experience. That means when different experiences come, and if they do not tally with each other, we are dissatisfied. But we try a philosophy, we try some generalization by which all of them become linked harmoniously, and then only we say we have known it. So, analysis of our knowledge, experience is the basis, generalization is the next step, and harmonizing gives us real knowledge. Now, using this now to the world we want to understand, using this now to our problem of immortality we shall now apply. Looking around us, what do we find? Experience. A continuous change. Now this requires a steady mind. Otherwise, no philosophy comes otherwise. If our mind goes on along with that change, then we do not stop to think at all. But if we observe, we see everything is changing. The plant comes out of the seed, now what type of change? The plant comes out of the seed, grows into the tree, completes the circle and comes back to the seed. Complete the circle. That means comes to the same point from where it started. So, change and completing the circle. This is what our observation. The animal comes, lives a certain time, dies and completes the circle. That means from him the son or somebody is born again. So does man. The mountains slowly but surely crumble away. The rivers slowly but surely dry up. Rains come out of the sea and go back to the sea. Everywhere circles are being completed. That is the broad observation. Birth, growth, development and decay following each other with mathematical precision. That means must happen. Birth, growth, decay, death. This is our everyday experience. So experience not of particular things, but of general nature in the nature. Inside of it all, behind all this vast mass of what we call life, of millions of forms and shapes, millions upon millions of varieties, beginning from the lowest atom to the highest spiritualized man, we find existing a certain unity. Next, harmonization. Everything completes a circle is one point. Now, in the whole cosmos, man, animal, plants, trees, life, we find a certain unity, a linking between all of them. That is life or consciousness. Here we must remember, highest is spiritualized man. Highest is not an intellectual man, highest is not a warrior, highest is not the richest man, highest is not one who can work most, highest means the spiritual man, spiritualized man. We find existing a certain unity. Every day we find that the wall that was thought to be dividing one thing and another is being broken down, and all matter is coming to be recognized by modern science as one substance manifesting in different ways and in various forms. So, science helps us here that all universe is one mobile substance in a continuous state of flux. Some part becomes this body, some part becomes that body, all are connected. That is what we find through science also. Manifesting in different ways and in various forms. The one life that runs through all like a continuous chain. So matter and through that life is flowing. Like a continuous chain of which all these various forms represent the links. Link after link extending almost infinitely, but of the same one chain. That is the generalized observation. Observation of a mind which is not restless, which is not narrow or constrained, but generalized. This is what is called evolution. So Darwin's evolution, amoeba, watery animals, birds, mammals, man, one link he finds. This species itself has grown into this species, this into this, and this Swamiji is using to show something much better. Understand Swamiji's links now? He is taking us in a flow, poetic flow. This is what is called evolution. It is an old idea, as old as human society. Only it is getting fresher and fresher as human knowledge is progressing. So it is not that Darwin discovered evolution. Idea is as old as humanity. But now Darwin has given us in a scientific form, harmonized form, rational appearance of form, but Swamiji will improve upon it. There is one thing more. In previous chapters, Swamiji has discussed this. There is one thing more which the ancients perceived, but which in modern times is not yet clearly perceived. And that is involution. So in previous lectures you have seen this very clearly, that unless there is involution, how can something come out of nothing? The seed is becoming the plant. A grain of sand never becomes a plant. It is the father that becomes a child. A lump of clay never becomes the child. From what does this evolution come is the question. What was the seed? It was the same as the tree. All the possibilities of a future tree are in the seed, potential. All the possibilities of a future man are in the little baby. All the possibilities of any future life are in the germ. What is this? The ancient philosophers of India called it involution. We find then that every evolution presupposes an involution. Nothing can be evolved which is not already there. Here again, modern science comes to our help. Though it has not recognized involution, but modern science tells nothing can come out of nothing. So in evolution, if something comes out, it must have been there. Many times it happens, science does not understand its own implications. You know by mathematical reasoning that the sum total of the energy that is displayed in the universe is the same throughout. You cannot take away one atom of matter or 1 foot-pound of force. Foot-pound was the old British unit. Now, meter and kilo, that type it goes. You cannot add to the universe one atom of matter. That was Swamiji's time science idea. And because nowadays we see matter and energy interconvertible, we should not say Swamiji is presenting something wrong. Swamiji is presenting in the language which existed at that time, so that people will believe it. And even with this changing into that, totality stands the same. And even with the latest discoveries of black holes, matter does not vanish, cannot vanish. Matter goes into finer form, and we do not see it. That is the only thing which happens. Involution there also. You cannot add to the universe one atom of matter or 1 foot-pound of force. As such, evolution does not come out of zero, Big Bang. No. It is there like seed and then it comes out. And cycle. It gets involved and then gets evolved. That is the real scientific. As such, evolution does not come out of zero, then where does it come from? From previous evolution. The child is the man involved, and the man is the child evolved. The seed is the tree involved, and the tree is the seed evolved. All the possibilities of life are in the germ. The problem becomes a little clearer. We are thinking of immortality. Everything is in a circle, everything is connected. Now, the problem is becoming clearer because it is involution and evolution. There is no death or destruction of anything. Neither something can be created nor can it be destroyed. The problem becomes a little clearer. Add to it the first idea of continuation of life. So, not only man, continuation of life, and then involution and evolution. From the lowest protoplasm to the most perfect human being, there is really but one life. Just as in one life, now to understand it, we see our own life. Swamiji is talking of the universal connection, as Darwin has pointed out. But to understand it, in our single life we can see this evolution. Just as in one life, we have so many various phases of expression, the protoplasm developing into the baby. So when the union between man and woman takes place, there is a protoplasm, single bioplasmic cell, and then it becomes the baby. So is this not evolution? It floats for some time in the mother's womb like the aquatic animals, and then it develops body and it comes out. So here itself we can trace the evolution. From this only Darwin got the idea of the outside nature. The child, baby, the child, the young man, the old man. So from that protoplasm up to the most perfect man, and that is Swamiji's point, that the last point of evolution is not any man, is the perfect man. We get one continuous life, one chain. This is the evolution. But we have seen that each evolution presupposes an involution. The whole of this life which slowly manifests itself, evolves itself from the protoplasm to the perfected human being, the incarnation of God on earth. So some just put this idea also. Perfected being equivalent to incarnation of God. Perfect is God, and God appears as man. That is the perfected being. The whole of this series is but one life, and the whole of the manifestation must have been involved in that very protoplasm. This whole life, this very God on earth was involved in it and slowly came out, manifesting itself slowly. That means through steps. The highest expression must have been there in the germ state, in the minute form. Therefore, this one force, this whole chain, is the involution of that cosmic life which is everywhere. So, linking all the lives, and in incarnations and people of perfect type, we see their mind is universal. So, the whole cosmic life has become involved in an individual. Cosmic life is everywhere. It is this one mass of intelligence, consciousness being called intelligence. One mass means the cosmic, which from the protoplasm up to the most perfected man is slowly and slowly uncoiling itself. Manifesting means uncoiling. Not that it grows. Take off all ideas of growth from your mind. It is manifesting. It is hidden potential, it is manifesting, not growing, because growing means small things become big. Then from where it has come, the idea, the question is again asked. So potential becoming kinetic is not growing, it is manifestation. Take off all ideas of growth from your mind. With the idea of growth is associated something coming from outside, something extraneous which would give the lie to the truth that the infinite which lies latent in every life is independent of all external conditions. Growth means it adds something, there is something besides it, but infinite if you take, there is nothing besides it, and that is manifesting in different people in different forms, and sometimes it manifests as the perfected man or the incarnation. It can never grow. It was always there and only manifests itself. So this idea of growth, parinamvad, that is wrong. The effect is the cause manifested. So cause, effect are the same. Effect is the potential form. Cause is the potential form of the effect. Effect is the manifested form of the cause. There is no essential difference between the effect and the cause. Example Swamiji is showing to us now. Take this glass for instance. There was the material and that material plus the wheel of the manufacturer made the glass. Glass is a particular shape, and that glass, Swamiji is telling, is material and the wheel of the person who made it. And these two are in its causes and are present in it. In what form is the wheel present? As adhesion. If the force were not here, each particle would fall away. What is the effect then? It is the same as the cause, only taking a different form. Swamiji's universal idea, we should have that. This house, this cement is nothing but the adhesion between the bricks from the man who made it. A different composition, arrangement different, that's all. Where the cause is changed and limited for a time, it becomes the effect. Change means form has changed for some time, and again it goes back to the cause. We must remember this. This is the important point to remember. There is nothing called growth. It is question of manifestation. Cause is the same as effect, only in different form. For some time, it goes back to the cause. Applying it to our idea of life. Now, this general observation, Swamiji said this glass example, apply to our life. We must remember this. Applying it to our idea of life, the whole of the manifestations of this one series, from the protoplasm up to the most perfect man, must be the very same thing as cosmic life. So perfected man, through that we can see the cosmic idea, cosmic mind, cosmic being, and that is the thing involved. First it got involved and became finer, and out of that find something which was the cause. It has gone on evolving, manifesting itself and becoming grosser. But the question of immortality is not yet settled. That means we are approaching that now through this. We want to live as individuals also. We have seen that everything in this universe is indestructible. There is nothing new. There will be nothing new. The same series of manifestations are presenting themselves alternately like a wheel, coming up and going down. All motion in this universe is in the form of waves, successively rising and falling. Systems after systems are coming out of fine forms, evolving themselves and taking grosser forms, again melting down, as it were, and going back to the fine forms. Again they rise out of that, evolving for a certain period and slowly going back to the cause. So with all life. So if you see in matter, same thing happens to life. Each manifestation of life is coming up and then going back again. What goes down? The form. The form breaks to pieces, but it comes up again. In one sense, bodies and forms even are eternal. First idea of immortality Swamiji is presenting now, of a repeated appearance of the same form. So this is not immortality, but as Swamiji said, various minds have given that. So let us examine this first attempt at finding immortality. In one sense, bodies and forms even are eternal. How? Suppose we take a number of dice and throw them and they fall in the ratio 6, 5, 3, 4. Ratio means 4 sides are there, so the figure shown is this, that particular ratio. But the term is applied difference. 6, 5, 3, 4. 6 is the maximum count because the dice is six-sided, and we take the dice up and throw them again and again. There must be a time when the same numbers will come again. Recurrence of the same form. The same combination must come. Maybe after years and years, but it comes again. Now each particle, each atom that is in this universe, I take for such a dice, and these are being thrown out and combined. So, not 6 sides, infinite sides. Being thrown out and combined again and again, all these forms before you are one combination today. Here are the forms of a glass, a table, a pitcher of water and so forth. This is one combination. In time it will all break. But there must come a time when exactly the same combination comes again. When you will be here and this form will be here, this subject will be talked and this picture will be here. An infinite number of times this has been, and an infinite number of times this will be repeated. Thus far with the physical forms, what do we find? That even the combinations of physical forms is eternally repeated. That does not solve our problem, but it is one idea of immortality. Now from this, Swamiji is bringing out another, what is called astrology, or telling the future, maybe from palm, maybe from stars or anything. A most interesting conclusion that follows from this theory is the explanation of facts such as these. Some of you perhaps have seen a man who can read the past life of others and foretell the future. Some people have that power. How is it possible for anyone to see what the future will be unless there is a regulated future? Effects of the past will recur in the future, and we see that it is so. Here you have seen the big Ferris wheel in Chicago. The wheel revolves and the little rooms in the wheel are regularly coming one after another. One set of persons gets into them, and after they have gone around the circle they get out, and a fresh batch of people get in. Wheels are moving, same. Each one of these batches is like one of these manifestations. From the lowest animal to the highest man, nature is like the chain of the Ferris wheel, endless and infinite, and these little carriages are the bodies or forms in which fresh batches of souls are riding. So the person will be different, but the appearance will be same. Body will be same, the person is different. But it cannot be immortality because the person is different. Bodies are repeating. Fresh batches of souls are riding, going up higher and higher until they become perfect and come out of the wheel. But the wheel goes on, and so long as the bodies are in the wheel, it can be absolutely and mathematically foretold where they will go, but not so the souls. So the appearance of the body, where future what will happen can be told. But the being inside is free of this. Thus it is possible to read the past and the future of nature with precision. We see then that there is recurrence of the same material phenomena at certain periods, and that the same combinations have been taking place through eternity, but that is not the immortality of this soul. So an idea of immortality by the recurrence of the bodies, same combination, but the souls being different in the examples we find, it is not the immortality. So it has to be rejected. Some people have produced this theory, and so Swamiji has examined it. No force can die, no matter can be annihilated. What becomes of it? It goes on changing backwards and forwards until it returns to the source from which it came. There is no motion in a straight line. Wonderful idea. Now, through relativity we understand this. But Swamiji in his own time, suppose you project a line. There is space, not infinite, so the line has to come back, become a circle. This is what the modern researchers in relativity has put before us. That the light goes out and it comes back. So, this line becomes a circle. There is no motion in a straight line. Everything moves in it in a circle. A straight line infinitely produced becomes a circle. If that is the case, there cannot be eternal degeneration for any soul. Another point. One cannot go down and down and down. It must come up at one point. It cannot be. Everything must complete the circle and come back to its source. What are you and I and all these souls? In one discussion of evolution and involution, in our discussion of evolution and involution, we have seen that you and I must be part of the cosmic consciousness. Another type of idea of immortality. Recurrence idea is not given immortality. Another type of idea of immortality, that we are parts of the same whole. This is what is called Vishwadvaita Ramanuji idea. In our discussion of evolution and involution, we have seen that you and I must be part of the cosmic consciousness, cosmic life, cosmic mind, which got involved, and we must complete this circle and go back to this cosmic intelligence, which is God. So we come out of God and we go back to God. This cosmic intelligence is what people call Lord or God or Christ or Buddha or Brahman, what the materialistic perceive as force and the agnostic as that infinite, inexpressible beyond, and we are all parts of that. So the materialist says it is a force. The agnostic says something unknown. But the real rational man says it is cosmic intelligence. Call it God or Buddha or Christ. This is the second idea. So the first idea was recurrence, rejected. Second idea is parts of the whole, and through that we are eternal. But some will show it has not satisfied. Myself as an individual want to be infinite. Yet this is not sufficient. There will be still more doubts. It is very good to say that there is no destruction for any force, but all the forces and forms that we see are combinations. This form before us is a composition of several component parts, and so every force that we see is similarly composite. If you take the scientific idea of force and call it the sum total, the resultant of several forces, what becomes of your individuality? Everything that is a compound must sooner or later go back to its component parts. Whatever is this universe is the result of the combination of matter or force, must sooner or later go back to its components. Whatever is the result of certain causes must die, must be destroyed. It gets broken up, dispersed, and resolved back into its components. Soul is not a force, neither is it thought. It is the manufacturer of thought. It is the consciousness behind. But not thought itself. It is the manufacturer of the body, but not the body. Why so? So, Swamiji is now trying to explain what is consciousness. And that consciousness, whether cosmic or individual, is not a combination. That is the point Swamiji will arrive at. And if it is not combination, the idea of immortality will change. So, two ideas of immortality he has discussed, the repetition of the forms and being part of a whole. But that has not satisfied us as individuals. And everything be a combination, it will get destroyed. What is not a combination only will survive. So Swamiji is now bringing out the real idea of immortality. These wrong ideas should be rejected. Why so? We see that the body cannot be the soul. Why not? Because it is not intelligent. There is no consciousness in the body. It is a combination. A corpse is not intelligent, nor a piece of meat in a butcher shop. What do you mean by intelligence? Reactive power. Yes. We want to go a little more deeply into this. Here is a picture, I see it, how rays of light from the picture enter my eyes and make a picture in my retina, which is carried to the brain. Swamiji had discussed this in the microcosm. Yet there is no vision. What the physiologists call the sensory nerves carry this impression inwards, but up to this there is no reaction. The nerve center in the brain carries the impression to the mind and the mind reacts. And as soon as this reaction comes, the picture flashes before it. So unless reaction comes, now mind itself cannot react. First impression is that mind reacts. Then Swamiji will show something, mind also is a combination. Take a more commonplace example. Suppose you are listening to me intently and a mosquito is sitting on the tip of your nose. He has to establish the mind first. And giving you that pleasant sensation which mosquitoes can give. But you are so intent on hearing me that you do not feel the mosquito at all. What has happened? The mosquito has bitten a certain part of your skin and certain nerves are there. They have carried a certain sensation to the brain and the impression is there, but the mind being otherwise occupied does not react, so you are not aware of the presence of the mosquito. When a new impression comes, if the mind does not react, we shall not be conscious of it. But when the reaction comes, we feel, we see, we hear, and so forth. So the knowledge comes after the reaction. With this reaction comes illumination, as the Sankhya philosophers call it. We see that the body cannot illuminate because in the absence of attention, no sensation is possible. Cases have been known where under peculiar conditions, a man who had never learnt a particular language was found able to speak it. Subsequent inquiries proved that the man had, when a child, lived among people who spoke that language and the impressions were left in his brain. These impressions remained stored up there until through some cause the mind reacted and illumination came. And then the man was able to speak the language. So, mind is not sufficient, Swamiji is now showing. This shows that the mind alone is not sufficient. That the mind itself is as instrument in the hands of someone. He stored the memory. In the case of that boy, the mind contained that language, yet he did not know it. But later there came a time when it did. So, mind has the impression, but the knowledge is not in the mind. Yet he did not know it, but later there came a time when it did. It shows that there is something besides the mind, and when the boy was a baby, that someone did not use the power, but when the boy grew up, he took advantage of it and used it. First, here is the body, Second, the mind or instrument of thought, and that behind this mind is the self of man. So, knowledge is in the consciousness. Mind might have stored, but I did not know. Particular conditions came, and I knew, I reacted. The Sanskrit word is Atman. As modern philosophers have identified thought with molecular changes in the brain, they do not know how to explain such a case. Knowledge they do not know. And they generally deny it. The mind is intimately connected with the brain, which dies every time the body changes. It is a matter, grey matter. Brain is not the mind. Brain is only an instrument. The self is the illuminator, and the mind is the instrument in its hands. And through that instrument, it gets hold of external instrument, and thus comes perception. Antakaran by Karan. The external instruments get hold of the impressions and carry them to the organs. For you must remember always that the eyes and ears are only receivers. He has shown in that previous chapter, it is the internal organs, the brain centers, which act. In Sanskrit, these centers are called indriyas, and they carry sensations to the mind, and the mind presents them further back to another state of the mind, which in Sanskrit is called chitta. And there they are organized into will. And all this present them to the King of Kings inside, the ruler on his throne, the self of man, consciousness, which is not a part of the combination. He then sees and gives his orders. Then the mind immediately acts on the organs, and the organs on the external body. The real perceiver, the real ruler, the governor, the creator, the manipulator of all this is the self of man. So in this way, Swamiji in the previous chapter has put more rationally. Here he is taking us in his flow of poetry. We see then that the self of man is not the body, neither is it thought. It cannot be a compound, because if it is a compound, it breaks down. Why not? Because everything that is a compound can be seen or imagined. It becomes an object. That which you cannot imagine or perceive, imagined by the mind, perceived by the senses. Which we cannot bind together, that which we cannot imagine or perceive, which we cannot bind together, that means through rationality, is not force or matter, cause or effect, and cannot be a compound. The domain of compounds is only so far as our mental universe. Our thought universe extends, matter and thought. Beyond this it does not hold good. It is as far as law reigns. So law also is associated in this uniformity, and if there is anything beyond law, it cannot be a compound at all. The self of man being beyond the law of causation is not a compound. It is ever free and is the ruler of everything that is within law. It will never die, because death means going back to the component parts, and that which was never a compound can never die. It is sheer nonsense to say it dies. So immortality real belongs to the self of man, not to the body, nor to the mind. We are now treading on finer and finer ground, and some of you perhaps will be frightened because they have never thought of this. You have seen that this self being beyond the little universe of matter and force and thought is a simple. Simple means not compound. And as a simple, it cannot die. That which does not die cannot live. For life and death are the obverse and reverse of the same coin. The compound lives, the candle burns, and then it starts dying. So dying and life are two names of the same phenomena. A simple thing cannot live separately from others. Life is another name for death and death for life. One particular mode of manifestation is what we call life. Another particular mode of manifestation, the same thing, is what we call death. When the wave rises on the top, it is life, and when it falls into the hollow, it is death. If anything is beyond death, we naturally see it must be beyond life, individual life. I must remind you of the first conclusion that the soul of man is part of the cosmic energy that exists, which is God. Now it shows it cannot be a part. We now find that it is beyond life and death. You were never born and you will never die. What is this birth and death that we see around us? This belongs to the body only, because the soul is omnipresent. How can that be, you may ask? So many people are sitting here and you say the soul is omnipresent. That means we see the difference. What is there asked to limit anything that is beyond law, beyond causation? This glass is limited. It is not omnipresent, because the surrounding matter forces it to take that form, does not allow it to expand. It is conditioned by everything around it and is therefore limited. But that which is beyond law, where there is nothing to act upon it, how can that be limited? It cannot. It must be omnipresent. You are everywhere in this universe. How is it that I am born and I am going to die and all that? That is the talk of ignorance, hallucination of the brain. You were neither born nor will you die. You have had neither birth nor will have rebirth, nor life, nor incarnation, nor anything. What do you mean by coming and going? All shallow nonsense. You are everywhere. Then what is this coming and going? It is the hallucination produced by the change of this fine body, which you call the mind. Mind has produced this. That is going on. Just a little speck of cloud passing before the sky. As it moves on and on, it may create the delusion that the sky moves. Sometimes you see a cloud moving before the moon and you think that the moon is moving. When you are in a train, you think the land is flying. Or when you are in a boat, you think the water moves. In reality, you are neither going nor coming. You are not being born nor being to be reborn. You are infinite, ever present, beyond all causation, and ever free. Such a question is out of place. It is arrant nonsense. How could there be mortality when there is no birth? So birth is coming with a form. Form destroys, it is called death. But that which appears to be the part is the cosmic. There cannot be a part. A simple thing cannot have part. Infinite can never have part. So in this way, Swamiji has presented immortality, but he says let us take a step further to complete it. One step more we shall have to take to come to a logical conclusion. There is no halfway house. You are metaphysicians and there is no crying quarter. That means stop here, cannot be the truth. Continue. If then we are beyond all law, we must be omniscient, ever blessed. All knowledge must be in us and all power and blessedness. So up till now we have proved omnipresence. Now he says omniscient. All knowledge is within us. And Sarva Shaktiman. All power is within us. And blessedness. All happiness is within us. So in this way, from the Sat infinity, Swamiji has brought out Sat Chit Ananda with Shakti. Certainly, you are the omniscient, omnipresent being of this universe. But of such beings, can there be many? Yes. Now that is the question. Swamiji is going beyond the Sankhya philosophy now. If I and you are different, then I will limit you, you will limit me. We cannot be infinite. But of such beings, can there be many? Can there be 100,000 millions of omnipresent beings? Certainly not. Then what becomes of us all? You are only one. There is only one such self, and that one self is you. We are not parts of Brahman, we are the Brahman itself. Standing behind this little nature is what we call the soul. There is only one being, one existence, the ever-blessed, the omnipresent, the omniscient, the birthless, the deathless. Through his control the sky expands, through his control the air breathes, through his control the sun shines, and through his control all live. He is the reality in nature. He is the soul of your soul. Nay more, you are he, you are one with him. You see under quotation marks, some is taken from Upanishad. Wherever there are two, there is fear. There is danger, there is conflict, there is strife. When it is all one, who is there to hate? Who is there to struggle with? When it is all he, with whom can you fight? This explains the true nature of life. This explains the true nature of being. This is perfection and this is God. As long as you, me, the many, you are under delusion. In this world of many is a Kathopanishad now. In this world of many, who sees the one. In this ever-changing world, he who sees him who never changes, as the soul of his own soul, as his own self, he is free, he is blessed, he has reached the goal. Therefore know that thou art he, thou art the God of this universe, tat tvam asi, that thou art. All these various ideas that I am a man or a woman or sick or healthy or strong or weak, or that I hate or I love or have a little power are but hallucinations. Away with them. What makes you weak? What makes you fear? You are the one being in the universe. What frightens you? Stand up then and be free. Know that every thought and word that weakens you in this world is the only evil that exists. It weakens you. Whatever makes men weak and fear is the only evil that should be shunned. What can frighten you? If the sun comes down and the moons crumble into dust and systems after systems are hurled into annihilation, what is that to you? Stand as a rock. You are indestructible. You are the self, the God of the universe. Say, I am the existence absolute, bliss absolute, knowledge absolute, I am he. So in a poetical way, Swami has carried us to this, which he has previously, step by step, rationally. Here also, he is very rational, but the putting is a continuous poetry. And like a lion breaking its cage, break your chain and be free forever. What frightens you, what holds you down? Only ignorance and delusion. Nothing else can bind you. You are the pure one, the ever blessed, because you are the only one. Silly fools tell you that you are sinners, and you sit down in a corner and weep. It is foolishness, wickedness, downright rascality to say that you are sinners. You are all God. See you not God and call him man? Therefore, if you dare, stand on that. Mold your whole life on that. If a man cuts your throat, do not say no, for you are cutting your own throat. When you help a poor man, do not feel the least pride. That is worship for you and not the cause of pride. Is not the whole universe you? Where is there anyone that is not you? You are the soul of the universe. You are the sun, moon and stars. It is you that are shining everywhere. The whole universe is you. Whom are you going to hate or to fight? Know then that thou art he, and model your whole life accordingly. And he who knows this and models his life accordingly will no more grovel in darkness. So he has put a poetic language and showed that we are simple, we are not parts, We are not different from each other. We are one consciousness. Consciousness is simple. Body and matter and force and thought are all combinations. They are destructible. But we are using those forms. We will not die. We will not live. Because live means one of these forms. So in that way, he has shown the real immortality is already there. It is not a repetition nor a part. It is already there if we can realize it, if we can mold our life on that. Om Paratatve Sada Lino Ramakrishna Samajya Yo Dharma Sthapana Rato Vire Santam Namanyaham. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamast.